All right, let's talk about creatine. It's got to be one of the most popular, most researched supplements on the entire planet. But what actually happens when you start taking it? We're going to break down your first 30 days, from the very beginning all the way to some pretty powerful benefits for your body. And yeah, even your brain.
And look, this isn't just some fad for people at your local gym. To put it in perspective, more than half of all professional power athletes, I'm talking powerlifters, boxers, sprinters, they use creatine to get that competitive edge. Its popularity is built on real, measurable results. So that leads us right to the big question, right? You start taking this stuff, then what? What are you supposed to feel? How soon does it happen? And how do you even know if it's working? Let's walk through that timeline step by step. Okay, first things first. Before you feel any of those cool performance benefits, your body has to go through something called the saturation phase. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like filling up a gas tank. Your muscles have to be completely topped off with creatine before you can really step on the accelerator. Now, you've basically got two ways to get there. You can do what's called a loading phase, where you take a higher dose for about a week to fill up that tank super fast. Or you can just take a smaller daily maintenance dose. In the end, you get to the exact same place. It's just a question of how quickly you want those benefits to start kicking in. And this timeline really lays it all out. If you go with the loading method, you're looking at fully saturated muscles in about a week. Go with a slow and steady maintenance dose, and it'll take you closer to 3 weeks. The main takeaway here is either way works. Patience pays off. Okay, so while this whole saturation thing is happening, what's the very first thing you're probably going to notice? It's something called cell hydration. See, creatine just loves water. So when it gets into your muscle cells, it pulls water right in there with it. And yeah, this usually leads to a small jump on the scale, maybe 1 to 3 pounds. But don't mistake this for fat. This is just water weight inside your muscles, which is actually a fantastic sign. It means the creatine is getting where it needs to go, and it can make your muscles look and feel noticeably fuller. All right, so once those muscles are saturated, this is where the real fun begins. This is where creatine starts to act like a high-performance fuel additive for your body's energy engine. And to get how that works, we have to talk about something called ATP. Just think of ATP as the direct, high-octane fuel for any explosive movement. Like that last heavy rep on the bench press or a flat-out sprint. The thing is, your body only has a tiny supply, and you burn through it really, really fast. And this is creatine's superpower. When you use that ATP fuel, it becomes a low-energy, useless version called ADP. Well, creatine jumps in, hands over a piece of itself, a phosphate, and almost instantly recharges that useless ADP back into high-energy ATP. It's like a super fast recycling system for energy, which means you've got more fuel in the tank to push harder for longer. So what does that actually look like in the gym? Well, these are the results from a massive scientific review. On average, experienced lifters saw their strength go up by 8%, and the number of reps they could do jump by a whopping 14%. I mean, those are serious gains that you can actually feel. But it doesn't even stop with just raw power. The science also shows that creatine helps fight that muscle burn from lactic acid, letting you squeeze out those extra reps. Plus, it actually helps your body build new muscle more efficiently and helps you bounce back faster between your workouts. It's a win-win-win. So we've talked about the body, but here's where things get really fascinating. One of the most overlooked benefits of creatine has absolutely nothing to do with your muscles. It's all about your brain. You see, while about 95% of your body's creatine is stored in your muscles, that other 5%, it's stored in your brain. And your brain is one of the most energy-hungry organs you have. It's constantly burning fuel, and it relies on creatine to help keep it running at full power. So what does that mean for you? Well, it means taking creatine can lead to some pretty amazing brain benefits. Studies have consistently found it can improve short-term memory and even boost scores on intelligence tests. And these effects are even stronger when you're stressed or haven't gotten enough sleep. This is especially true for vegetarians and vegans who don't get much creatine from their diet. Okay, so it works for your muscles and it works for your brain. This sounds great, right? Maybe a little too great? So, is it actually safe? Let's dive in and tackle the myths head on, because this is where a lot of people get worried. This is the big one, the number one myth. You've probably heard it from a friend or read it online somewhere. It's the rumor that just won't die, so let's set the record straight right now. The simple fact is this. After literally decades of research and hundreds upon hundreds of studies, creatine has been proven time and time again to be safe for healthy people. The scientific consensus on this is incredibly strong. And hey, Don't just take my word for it. A big review in the Journal of Renal Nutrition back in 2019 looked at all the long-term studies and came to a very clear conclusion. Taking creatine did not lead to renal dysfunction in the people they study. So what about the other stuff you hear, like dehydration and cramps? Well, since your muscles are holding on to more water, you just need to drink a bit more water. It's that simple. And an upset stomach? That's usually only a problem for people doing those big loading doses. If you stick to a smaller dose or just take it with a meal, that problem usually goes away. And here is a super important heads up for you and maybe even your doctor. Taking creatine will slightly raise your levels of something called creatine. That's with an NINE on a blood test. This is a totally normal, totally harmless byproduct. It is not a sign of kidney damage. It's just a crucial little detail to be aware of. So let's wrap this all up. Your first 30 days. In the first couple of weeks, you're going to saturate your muscles, get that fuller look. Then, in the weeks after that, you can expect to feel stronger, push out more reps, and bounce back faster. All while you might be getting a nice little boost in brain power. And you can do it all knowing it's one of the safest supplements you can take. So when you look at all the evidence, the clear, proven benefits for your physical performance and your brain function, maybe the question we should be asking isn't about the if. Maybe the real question is about what you could unlock. What could one extra rep, a slightly sharper thought, or a quicker recovery really do for you? That's something to think about.